On this edition of The Exchange, conflict, COVID and climate. It's been a perfect storm for global supply chains. So what are company bosses doing to navigate the stormy economic weather? Welcome to The Exchange. I'm Guy Schoen, bringing you the biggest news and interviews from all around the business world. The last few years have hit supply chains very hard. But what are the main challenges company bosses are facing? Well, the World Economic Forum suggests there are 5 factors global supply chains are fighting. Skyrocketing inflation means millions of consumers are cutting back, which hits demand, but also creates uncertainty, making it tough for supply chain experts to plan. Well, across Europe, there have been many recent examples of workers taking industrial action, partly due to their pay packets now being worth less. Rising energy prices have caused companies to cut back too, limiting production and making life even trickier for those supply chain planners. And political tensions and conflicts have created even more disruption and uncertainty. And all of this comes against a backdrop of the climate crisis. Changes to regulation, but also the very real damage and disruption caused by the dramatic shifts in weather patterns we're all already starting to experience. Major issues, but on the flip side, World Economic Forum research also revealed that 77% of chief economists expect companies to respond and tackle tough conditions with innovation that optimizes supply chains. So, should we feel anxious or optimistic about businesses' ability to supply us with the products and services we rely on? Well, earlier I met up with Ranjith Menon, Group CEO of GWC, a leading logistics and supply chain firm based here in Qatar. And I started by asking him how he feels about the current state of global supply chains.
Global supply chains are recovering after about 3 hard years. It's completely looks very, very different today. The companies adapted differently in terms of diversifying their production and not relying on one supply source or country. So if you look at the supply chain today, it looks more like a supply web. Now, does it increase complexity because you've got multiple vendors supplying the same products, and it also has an impact on the cost? But this de-risks the supply challenges or the supply shocks like what we have seen in the recent past.
Now, shipping still powers a vast part of the global economy. 11 billion tonnes of goods are shipped around the world every year. We sent our reporter Jack Parrock to get a demo of the latest technology transforming Europe's fastest growing port.
Yeah, that's right, Guy. I'm down here at the port of Antwerp in Belgium. You can see the building behind me is super futuristic, and that's actually in line with what they're trying to do operationally. The authority here is trying to make this one of the world leaders in digitalization, and they're making big strides. I'm here to find out more. The man at the heart of the digitalization of the port is Erwin Verstralen. He oversees the implementation of a so-called digital twin of the port to support the terminals, the shipping companies, and the inland waterways.
You bring the data together and you provide them the view they want on the data sets that they need at that moment in time. And they can play, they can add, they can throw data layers out. And as such, it starts to grow. It triggers new use cases and initiatives. And if we have, of course, a new data feed or a new data source we can get our hands on, we bring it in, it triggers another innovation cycle where we see, oh, that's interesting.
Nautical communication is still mainly done voice-to-voice on phones and radios, making it hard to track. 2 years ago, the port piloted a project to use artificial intelligence to turn the spoken words into text. It didn't work back then, but they've redone it now, and the technology has improved so much, the AIs can even detect sentiment in voices. It knows if 2 ships' captains are having an argument.
So if people who are responsible for investigating an accident or something that took place, that are now looking for the needle in the haystack, they can query that, and in 5 to 10 seconds, okay, it was this.
At nearly 130 square kilometres, the port of Antwerp is the 14th biggest in the world and the 2nd biggest in Europe. For Erwin, the challenge to digitalise the operations isn't daunting, it's exciting.
Using high-tech systems to save space and time has become a multi-billion-dollar business. One of the world leaders for innovation in this space is GXO Logistics. Well, joining us now from New York is Mark Manduka, GXO's Chief Investment Officer. Mark, supply chain is a misunderstood term, isn't it? What do you guys actually do?
GXO is a company that came about through a number of acquisitions over the last 20 years. Today, it looks basically like 900 plus warehouses operating in over 28 countries across the globe. What we're trying to do is basically make people's warehouse more efficient, faster and more accurate than they can do it themselves.
So tech transforming warehouses then, Mark, but what changes are we seeing in the world of shipping?
So there's lots going on right now, Guy. From a shipping perspective, the last, let's say, 30 years from a global trade standpoint, goods were being shipped, in essence, out to Asia to be manufactured and then ultimately come back to consumers. That traditional trade lane has been put under significant pressure, not just because of what we've seen with the pandemic or zero COVID, but also because wages, quite frankly, have gone up substantially, such that the differential between markets in the East versus market in the West have closed over the last 10 years.
Thanks, Mark. So tech is transforming traditional ways of storing and shipping faster than ever before. Now it's time for our regular feature, Business in 60 Seconds. Start the clock. French conglomerate Kering reports its fourth quarter earnings. The owner of Gucci and Balenciaga has seen multiple quarters of double-digit growth for a lot of its fashion houses. Kering has historically shown resilience during downturns, but slowing growth in China and the US could cause a pause in its momentum. Also due with earnings is hotel giant Marriott International. The company has seen a boost in revenue from the return of global travel. That's spurring the brand to continue expanding its portfolio, promising to launch more than 35 new luxury hotels around the world this year, including its Ritz-Carlton and St. Regis brands. And global online gaming platform Roblox also shares its results for the final quarter of the year. The strength of the dollar has been causing a slowdown in the company's revenue. It's also seeing a fall in bookings per daily active users. Roblox's recent performance comes amid a broader weakness in the video gaming industry. So the so-called perfect storm of conflict, COVID and climate change did hit global supply chains hard. But across the disciplines of planning, shipping and storage, technology is solving problems so fast that the forecast is far more nuanced, far more optimistic than many might have feared. Well, that's all we have time for on this edition of the show. Thank you for watching. Please do check out Euronews.com for all your latest business news. And join us again next time on The Exchange.